What's up, captains? Welcome to a very exciting episode of the Captain's Lifestyle Podcast. This is your captain speaking, Taylor Morgan. I'm recording this on the day after I was released from jail. That's right. So I'm going to be overviewing the whole entire situation, what happened, what I was charged with, and that's essentially it. So this will be a good one. So let's dive right into it. Currently, I am in Austin, Texas. I've been traveling for like the past month and a half, and I had tickets to the biohacking Congress in Las Vegas. So my flight was originally for Thursday, I believe. Or no, I had a flight to Richmond. I was going to go to Richmond to record a podcast. Nope, just kidding. Plans have changed a lot. So I was going to go to Minneapolis, Minnesota to meet with my apprentice and talk about work and things like that. The flight for that was on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, I went to the airport here in Austin, Texas, and I wanted to see what would happen if I just didn't wear a mask at all through security on the plane, anything. Because I've seen Ian Smith do it. So if you follow Ian Smith Fitness, I believe his page is on Instagram, he like never wears a mask at all, and he's able to get through security and fly. At least from my understanding, that's what he does. So I wanted to try that because in the past on my other flights, I've just pulled it up very briefly through security. As soon as I'm through security, it comes off. It's off throughout the entire airport. And then when I'm boarding the plane, I just put it up through boarding. And then as soon as I sit down, I take it off. And then from there, I'm like pretending to drink water the whole time until we take off. Once the plane takes off, I just completely take it off because at that point, there's nothing that they could do. They've told me, and when I say they, I mean the flight attendants have told me, you have to wear it, right? And I say, no, you don't. Like, you're choosing to, you don't have to, right? So I think a big problem is the language around this. You're required to, it's mandated, you have to do this thing. And if you've been listening to my podcast, you know that language fucking matters. So we don't have to do these things because I've gone whole entire flights without wearing a mask. So you don't have to. People are choosing to. Same thing with the flight attendants, law enforcement. You are choosing to enforce these rules. You are choosing to wear a mask yourself because you are afraid of the alternative, whatever that may be. So that's usually what happens on the plane. When I take it off, usually there's somebody waiting for me. When I land, a lot of times it's a Southwest employee, in which case I just walk right by them because they have no power. There's nothing that they can do. A lot of times they call the sheriff, and the sheriffs, for the most part, don't give a shit. I just ask, am I being detained? If they say no, then you just keep on walking. The first time this happened, I said, am I being detained? They said yes, and they asked for my ID, so I gave them my ID. They took down my name, gave it to the Southwest. They said that they were gonna recommend I be put on the no-fly list for Southwest at least. That never happened, obviously, because I've continued to fly Southwest. That's all I fly. So most times nothing actually happens. They just try these, scare tactics on you. So for my flight that was supposed to be on Wednesday to Minneapolis, I decided to see what would happen if I just didn't wear one at all. So got to security, didn't want to put one on. Same story. Oh, you have to wear one, right? And so then they called over the airport police, and the police didn't give a shit. But it was like some organization, like the airport. I don't know what it was. It was like the airport organization or something. Issued me a quote unquote criminal trespassing warning, although the exact verbiage wasn't warning. It was like, I don't know, but it was like a criminal trespassing warning. Even though I wasn't trespassing, right? I had a ticket to be in the airport. And the only reason that they said it was trespassing was because I wasn't wearing a mask. So that's not really trespassing because I have a ticket to get on the plane. So I don't think that that's actually trespassing. Nevertheless, they gave me this criminal trespassing warning. And they said that if I were to come back and not be complying with the mask, not because I'm trespassing, but because I'm not complying with the mask mandate, that they would, or that they could arrest me. They said not that if I come back, which is what trespassing actually is, which is if you go back to the place, then that's, you know, trespassing, then you can be arrested. They said I can come back as long as I'm complying with the mask mandate. So that's not really trespassing. So I came back Friday for my flight to Vegas because I had tickets to the biohacking Congress in Las Vegas. So made it past security because at this point I wanted to attend the biohacking Congress. So I pulled the mask up briefly through security, took it off immediately after, was waiting in line to board the plane. And then two guys came up to me, asked if I was Taylor Morgan. They said that I had a criminal trespassing warning and that they saw that I wasn't wearing my mask and that they had talked to the captain and said that the captain did not want me to fly. And I had never talked to the captain. The captain never saw me. I asked if I could speak to the captain. They denied that. And they said that, and at this point, because I wanted to attend the biohacking Congress, I said, okay, I will put the mask on to get on the flight, knowing in my head, like, as soon as they take off, I would just take it right back off. But even after I said that, they said, no, the captain doesn't want you boarding. Like, so at that point, there was nothing I could do. So I was like, well, then why am I here? Why are you? Because they were still trying to talk to me, like negotiating about me putting my mask on. And I was like, well, if I can't even board the plane, what is the point of all this? So, and at this point, more airport cops showed up and I walked away trying to book another flight. And I stopped at a table to do this, to get my flight from Southwest refunded, which it was, and to book another flight. And at this point, the cop was talking to me saying that I was trespassing because I no longer had a valid ticket because the Southwest had just canceled my ticket because the captain said that he didn't want me to fly. Who knows if they actually talked to the captain? I don't know. I never saw him, like I said. And so as I was I was on my phone getting ready to book another flight, not through Southwest because they said that, you know, I couldn't fly Southwest that day. So I was looking on a flight on a different airline. And the cop was talking to me, said that, you know, I'm trespassing. I don't have a valid ticket. So because I'm past security without a valid ticket, now I'm trespassing, right? Because they had just canceled my ticket. And he gave me two options. He was like, okay, you can walk back past security and you're fine there because apparently at that point, it's not trespassing anymore. Or he said that they could escort me back out there. So the two options he gave me was I could willingly walk back out there or they could escort me back out there. And then I started asking him questions like, you know, like, why am I trespassing? You know, what's going to happen if you escort me, things like that. And then he said that I could be arrested because I said, am I being detained? And he said, you're about to be arrested for trespassing. And I was like, well, you just said my two options were either I walk out willingly or you escort me out. There's no arresting, right? And so I got this on video too. I was asking him, you know, what happens if I get arrested? He said, okay, I'm going to take you to jail. What happens if I get taken to jail? And at that point, he was like, all right, that's it. And he arrested me. And so I got, you know, handcuffed and everything. I never resisted. I'm never combative or hostile or mean or, you know, anything like that whenever I'm confronted about the mask or anything like that. I'm always very polite, very calm, just like I'm talking to you guys right now. I'm very reasonable. I don't cause a scene. That's not what this is for. So I let them put the handcuffs on me, no problem. They escorted me to the little like cops office that's there. And yeah, then they took me to jail for criminal trespassing, right? But in reality, it's because I wasn't wearing a mask. So, uh, so yeah, spent like 30 hours, I would say it was, in jail. And this is where it gets even crazier, because in jail, you know how you're supposed to get your one phone call? So, well, first off, before that, they had me, so they take everything from you. You don't get to keep any of your possessions, literally nothing, not my Oura ring, any bracelets, clothes, nothing. They take everything from you. And then so I was wearing these black and gray striped like pajama things and like these little shitty slippers. So that was the uniform. I was looking spiffy. And then they had me sit down with all the other inmates waiting to get your picture taken and get your fingerprints taken. And everybody was wearing masks, and they gave me one, and I said, I'm not going to wear it. So I sat down, didn't wear it. And then somebody walked by, one of the guards, and was like, can you put your mask on? I said, no, thank you. He said, okay. And then took me to a private cell away from everybody because I wouldn't wear the mask. And so I was locked in there for, I don't know at the time, but it was hours. And when they brought me out to take pictures and get my fingerprints, again, I wasn't wearing a mask for the whole process. And then they asked if I wanted to make a phone call, use my one phone call. I said yes. And they said that I had to put a mask on. And I said, no, thank you. And they said, well, do you want to have your phone call? And I was like, well, not if I have to wear a mask. And so they refused to give me my phone call simply because I wouldn't put the mask on for that. So, okay, whatever. I'm going to be out of here quick, which was my thinking. I thought this was only going to be like a few hour, in and out thing. So then I went back to my private holding room, which was just a shitty toilet, shitty sink, and that's it, right? There's no bed in there or anything like that. So I went back to that room, and then when the time came for me to get a bunk, because apparently I was staying overnight, they were about to take me, and they said, here, put this mask on. And I said, no, thank you. And they said, oh, okay, well, you're not going to get a bunk then, and put me back in this holding room with no bed. And at this point, it was like, I think 9 or 10 when they first did that. And so they put me back in the room. So I could now not get a bunk to sleep in because I wouldn't wear a mask. And in the meantime, all these legit criminals, people who were being combative with the officers, people who were literally screaming like the craziest, even racial slurs at these officers, like causing a whole bunch of scenes. One guy even had to get tased. I saw a guy get punched in the face, like real fucking criminals. They got to have their phone calls. They got to go in the bunks and get a good night's sleep just because they were wearing a mask. Doesn't matter that they were, being combative and like restraining or resisting the officers. They were wearing a mask. So they got to have the phone call. They got to go to the bed before me. Right. So that was pretty shocking that it seemed that the only thing that mattered in there was to put a mask on. And the guards were constantly yelling like across the room if they saw somebody without it, put your mask up, right? Like, it's just fucking nuts. And this is all happening in Austin, Texas, right? You would think Texas, would be a little bit more, awake to this ridiculousness, right? They weren't. I had conversations with many of the officers, hey, we don't like wearing these, but we have to, right? Going back to language. And I would explain to them, no, you don't have to. You're choosing to. And at this point, they would just walk away because they don't want to acknowledge that it's their choice. They're uncomfortable with that. They're just, quote unquote, doing their job, quote unquote, following orders. They're oblivious to the fact that they're further contributing to this, ridiculous mandate, this tyrannical system that they're a part of. Another thing that I noticed in there was the level of consciousness is just extremely low, like horrible energy, not just from the inmates, which obviously they're low on the levels of consciousness, and even from the officers. Like, they say that they care about these inmates, but they really don't. Like, I did not get that sense from most of them. So yeah, complete opposite of the level of energy and consciousness that I had experienced the past month and a half at all these amazing events that I had been to, the Strong Coach Summit, Road to Union, and the Resilience Seminar. Those were all amazing, with all like-minded people who have taken the red pill. They're out of the matrix. They understand this ridiculousness that is happening in the world. And then in jail, I guess not surprisingly, it's just complete opposite. Like, everybody's taking the blue pill. Everybody's still in the matrix, just following orders, just doing what they're supposed to do, right? Because they think they quote unquote have to. So at this point, I had waited like another 3 hours, and it was now like midnight. And I was like, fuck, okay, well, I at least want to get some sleep. And so I was like, okay, I'll put the fucking mask on so I can at least get a bed so I can lay down and get some rest. And also, you're under fluorescent lights the whole time. And I asked them to turn it off. They said, there's no turning off the lights in jail. So you're under these fluorescent lights 24 fucking 7. So it is one of the unhealthiest environments you could be in, 24/7 under fluorescent lighting. Just horrible for your circadian rhythm and overall health and happiness, right? And not just for the inmates, but the shift workers, the officers who are doing the shift work at, in the night, their health is all fucked up because they're under fluorescent lights. I saw people drinking energy drinks, like, they're all fucked up. This could be a whole separate podcast on how unhealthy jail is. So I was like, okay, I don't want to be under these fluorescent lights all night, like with no blanket, nothing. I literally just had the black and white striped pajamas. And what I did do, actually, before I decided I wanted to get a room, is I tried to get some sleep. I took the roll of toilet paper that was in there, used that as a pillow, took a sheet of it, or 2 sheets of it, made 2 makeshift earplugs to put in my ears to cancel out some of the fucking screaming and banging that was going on outside, and then used toilet paper to wrap around my eyes so I could block out some of the fluorescent lighting. And then I laid down underneath the sink next to the toilet on the cold, hard floor, which smelled like piss, of course, to try to block out some of the light and actually get some rest. I don't think I ever fell asleep, but I definitely entered the alpha brainwave state. So I was no longer in beta. I was actually able to get some quote unquote rest, which felt good. And like I said, then, midnight rolled around and I was like, okay, I want some actual rest. So then I told them, yeah, I'll put my fucking mask on. And so they came in and got me around like 12:30, went to get a bunk in a private cell. And I was going to call it a mattress. It's not a mattress. It's like a 2.5, 3-inch pad, not even foam, but like, it's probably made out of like synthetic fibers, like some pillows are. So it's not a lot of cushion. It's just enough. And it's smaller than a twin bed. It's probably like half to 3/4 of a twin bed. So it's pretty small and not a lot of padding. So it was worse than the beds that we had in the Marine Corps in boot camp. And we did get a blanket, though, so that was good. Although we're still under fluorescent lighting that does not turn off. It's on 24/7. No natural sunlight comes in. And so I'm in this room, and all there is a bunk, a little makeshift table, a sink, a toilet, and a window to not outside, but outside into the rest of the cells in the jail. So that was it. So I got some rest with the blanket pulled over my face so I could block some of the light. And yeah, not great sleep, as you can imagine. A lot of banging and screaming going on outside. the lights are on. So obviously your sleep quality is messed up. And then it kept getting interrupted because at like 4:30 a.m. they came in to give me breakfast, which I didn't eat. It was, so get this, I think it's the same meal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was 4 pieces of plastic wrapped whole grain bread. So a lot of glyphosate, a lot of gluten, and 2 slices of Kraft American singles, so fake chemical laden cheese, 3 slices of vacuum plastic package sealed bologna, so processed meat. Then there was an apple, so at least there's that. I doubt it was organic, but so we got real food, an apple, and then 2 packets of graham crackers, which more glyphosate, more carbs and sugar. And then last but not least, a plastic package of pretzels. So more glyphosate, more gluten. So I didn't eat that. I was planning on fasting the whole time I was in there. So that was at like 4:30 is when breakfast is. So I was woken up for that. And then before that, actually, this was, I don't know, probably around 2 a.m. maybe. And I'm guessing because there were no clocks. So I really didn't have any idea what time it was. I was woken up by somebody to talk about like a bond to get me out of jail or something. So I was woken up to fill that out, went back to bed, then was woken up at 4:30 for this breakfast that I didn't eat. And then throughout the day, it's literally just waiting because you have nothing. There is nothing that you can do. So I did a lot of singing, like out loud. I was actually singing. I had a lot of time to thinking about a lot of things, a lot of meditating, a lot of breathing. And one of the things that came to me was that the universe provided me this opportunity to reset myself, because the past month and a half, I had been traveling. I had been getting a lot of input from all these different seminars. Now, granted, it was good input. And because I had kept this going and I was planning on keeping it going for the rest of this month and into April, I was getting so much input and traveling so much and like completely off my schedule. This was the universe's way of saying, hey, Taylor, you've been fucking full speed ahead on like half vacation mode, half knowledge input mode. You need a reset. So that's what came to me this time in jail, was like, hey, I need to slow the fuck down. I need to integrate a lot of these things that I'm learning. I need to implement them into my business because I hadn't really worked for like a month. I had just been doing the bare minimum just to get by, and not actually integrating these things and upgrading my business. So this was the universe's way of telling me, hey, motherfucker, you need to slow down and start working again. And so today, Sunday, was the first day that I've really sat down for a few hours and got some actual work done, and it's felt fucking phenomenal. So I know I've needed this reset, and I'm flying out later tonight, fingers crossed, right? Hopefully back home so I can further get in my schedule, get some actual work done, build my brand to help more people live the captain's lifestyle. So that was one of the things that came to me. So just, a lot of time to think, a lot of breath work practice, because because there were times that it's like scary, because in there you literally have no control of the external circumstances. You're in a locked room. You can't open the door. I tried. So there's no escaping. So you're literally at the will of the guards. So, the situation plays in your head, well, what if the guards get overtaken? What if there's some crazy disaster that happens and we're just locked in here and we're trapped? There's nothing that we could do, right? So it can get a little stressful if you start to let those thoughts creep in. And bringing it back to the breath. I've said this on many, many podcasts. Breathing is the best and fastest way to shift your state from sympathetic fight or flight mode, stressed out, to the parasympathetic rest and digest. So I was doing a lot of breath work, 4-7-8 breathing, box breathing, humming on the exhale really helps stimulate the vagus nerve and helps calm you as well. A lot of meditation, a lot of time to think, a lot of naps throughout the day because the sleep was so bad. And that's really all you could do is nap, meditate, breathe, walk around, like look out the window. So yeah, it was brutal. So let's see, what's next? At about 12 noon the next day, then I got called to see the magistration judge, and it was virtual. So me and like, I don't know, 7 other inmates were sat down in front of this virtual Zoom call with this judge, and he was reading out our charges and the bail amount for each charge. And so I was one of the last to get called up. And so I got to hear everybody else's charges. And there were charges like, unlawful use or carry of a firearm, possession of a controlled substance. One was like a terrorist threat against like his family or something like that, attempted burglary, like stolen car, like all these fucking crazy, like actual crimes that these people had committed. And then the bail amounts for one guy was like 24 grand. Other charges were like 8 grand, 5 grand, 7 grand, all these big numbers and actual charges. And then they got to me. He was like, Taylor Morgan, your charge is for criminal trespassing with a bail amount of $1,000 and you will be out today. And it's like, why the fuck am I even in here? So yeah, the bail amount was the lowest out of everybody. It was just a misdemeanor charge, and I was being released that day. So I just find it crazy that I was in this place with actual fucking criminals who actually committed all of these crimes. And the only reason I'm in there is because I wasn't wearing a mask, right? And I get treated poorly. I don't get my phone call, right? Which is like, I thought it was like you're right, in jail. So I missed out on the phone call. They wouldn't give me a bed without wearing a mask. Yet all these other criminals, just because they wear a mask, get these things. So I was like, cool, okay, well, I'm getting out today, which I thought it was only going to be a few hour thing at the beginning. I didn't even think I was going to be overnight, but shit happens, stayed overnight. From that point, so it was at like 12:30, he told me I was being released. Then it was another 4 hours until I got dinner. And at this point, I didn't know how much longer I was going to be in there. So I ate the dinner, which was the same thing that I explained that they gave for breakfast. And I really just ate it out of boredom, because at this point I had done the meditating, I had done the breath work, I had taken all the naps I wanted to take. And like, we didn't even have a pen or paper, which would have been great. I could have journaled, something. So I primarily ate out of boredom and to, just pass the time. It's just like, when the fuck am I going to get out of here? And at the time I had already fasted for over 24 hours. So I was like, okay, I can break the fast now. So yeah, I was running on glyphosate and fucking craft singles there for a few hours until I got out. So that was at 4 was when dinner was provided, which, by the way, the dinner is all the meals are all carbs. So it's bread, graham crackers, an apple, pretzels, cheese, and garbage bologna. So mainly carbs, a very small amount of protein, and barely any fat from the fake cheese. So very nutrient deficient, horrible macro breakdown. So yeah, going back on, jail is a very unhealthy place. You got the overhead fluorescent lights, which are horrible for your circadian rhythm, horrible for your overall health and happiness. You've got the crappy food filled with glyphosate, a lot of high glycemic carbs. So your blood sugar is constantly spiked. The glyphosate is ruining your gut. You're not getting healthy fats. You're not getting healthy proteins. And on top of that, the water is obviously not filtered. It's, the city's tap water, which I haven't checked what it is for Austin, but I'm sure it's filled with a lot of contaminants. So yeah, very unhealthy place to be. So from 4:30 And meanwhile, by the way, I was watching everybody else get phone calls. Everybody else was on the phone for like a half hour, and I couldn't because I wouldn't wear a mask. And I asked them multiple times because there's like an intercom button that I could press. It's like, hey, can I have a phone call? They're like, no. So whatever. I got released finally. It was around, I believe, 5:30. I was released. So thankfully the sun was still up, so I was able to get some natural sunlight. First thing I did was FaceTime my parents, tell them the situation. Yeah, so that was really the whole experience about what happens. I booked a flight for tonight, actually, to go back to California, back home. So hopefully, I'll be let on that flight, which I will be wearing my mask if they try to come at me, because I do want to go home. So now I will answer some of these questions that I got on Instagram. So they put, hey, just got out of jail. What questions do you have? I'm going to be recording a podcast on this. So I'm sure I answered most of these throughout the podcast. I want all the details. This is insane. Where can I listen to this podcast? Well, if you're listening to it now, you already know, the Captain's Lifestyle Podcast. What do you tell yourself when you feel discouraged by situations like these? Good question. I tell myself that everything happens for a reason. That because it's very easy in situations like that to get down on yourself and to see the negative side of things. And those thoughts did start to creep in. And that's when I switched it from, this is not a bad thing that's happening to me. This is the universe giving me something good so that I can take a reset and learn from it, right? And also I viewed it as, okay, if I have to take this hit to then share this message with all of you about freedom and what's happening in America right now with this ridiculous mask mandate that is still happening, then so be it. If that's my place to take this, to stand up to this ridiculousness, then I will do that. So I always reframe it to, what is the positive that can come out of this? And I truly believe that everything does happen for a reason. So that is what I tell myself. I reframe it to a positive and just trust that it's all part of the process. So one of my favorite quotes is from Winston Churchill: "This too shall pass." So actually, maybe that's not from Churchill. I think that's some old like biblical thing or religious thing. And then he just re-quoted it. So yeah, this too shall pass. Everything comes to an end. Nothing lasts forever. It's all part of the process. Reframe it to a positive. Somebody asked, there's bigger crimes to worry about than a mask. Really, fuck the mandate. Yeah. Oh, and we got this is a nice one from Mr. Chris Garcia on Instagram. "You clearly aren't a man of your word if you sign something that says one thing and do another." Because he's referring to when you book a flight, you agree to wear a mask and all that. Thank you for that, Chris. Here's another one from Chris. "I'm not surprised, dude. Remember, when you check in, you agree to wear a mask." Yep. Mr. Chris Garcia on Instagram. I appreciate your comments. Did you learn anything while in the holding tank? Yeah, so the primary thing, like I already mentioned, was that I needed this reset. I've been go for a while. I need to, instead of getting more input, I need to focus on output and integration. Sick, bro. So you got arrested for real? For real. Got arrested. Wow, what the fuck is wrong with people? Good for you for not backing down. I appreciate the support. Somebody said, what? Jail for not wearing a mask? In which state is this? Yep, Austin, Texas. Shit's crazy. Somebody commented, fucking propaganda shit. My jaw just dropped at this. So insane, and proud of you for standing up. Thank you, Carly Somatis. I've been getting a lot of support after this. Somebody asked, what happens after? So, like I said, I was released after about 30 hours, even though they said it should take no more than 24. And my bail is set to $1,000. So I'm not familiar with this process at all. This was my first time in jail doing anything like this. I should say this is my first time in jail on the other side. I've been in jails a few times when I've been on ride-alongs with my cop friends. So I've seen it from that side, but this is the first time actually being behind bars as a criminal. So what happens after? They said that I have to be in Austin, Texas for my court date on April 8th. And I'm sure that there's a way to do this online. I am going to want a lawyer because I don't believe what they did was legal. I believe that there is a way to get out of this. Because even though it's only $1,000, it's the ethics of the thing. It's the principle, the morality of it. Like it's not right. So my best friend, Kevin, is a cop. And so I'm going to talk with him, and I've got some connections to some good lawyers. So I'll see what I can do about that $1,000 bail. What state? Yep, Austin. What they charge you with? Again, criminal trespassing. But it was really just because I wasn't wearing a mask, because I had tickets both times. Where were you without a mask? Yeah, so in the airport. Why is it considered illegal? So that's the thing. Wearing a mask is not illegal. They got me on quote unquote criminal trespassing. Somebody commented, so what if you are hard of hearing or have asthma? Yeah, I don't know about the like medical exemptions. I don't know about any of that. How many times have I passed through Austin before they did this? At least twice I had gone through without them saying anything. My last flight to Austin from Richmond, Virginia, from the resilience seminar, my flight to here, I didn't wear it at all on the plane, and nobody, not even the flight attendant, said anything to me. And I had 2 flights. I had a connecting flight. On either flight, nobody said anything to me. Not in the airport, not on the plane, nothing. And this would have been at the beginning of, towards the end of February, I believe this would have been. Nobody said anything to me. No mask on the plane, not a word from anybody. And now, all of a sudden, I get arrested. So crazy. What the actual fuck? In Texas, I thought this shit was over with, right? It fucking should be. And on this point, it's great that I'm getting so much support. I love that you guys are supporting me in all of this. And I can't be one of the only ones doing this, right? We all have to stand up to this fucking ridiculousness, and we all have to stand up for our freedom, because the only way it's going to go away is if it's not these individual cases like myself, right? These one-off cases, they have no problem arresting you and taking you away, because it's just these one-off cases. But if all of us collectively would start to stand up to this bullshit and not comply with the masks and these ridiculous mandates, then they realize that they don't have the power that they think they have. But if it's just these one-off things here and there, then it's very easy for them to pull you aside, to pull you out, and to basically segregate you and pull you away, and to assert their force on you. If it's multiple people, if it's all of us, then they don't have that power. So we all have to start doing this. We all have to stop complying with the ridiculous mask bullshit. Okay. Maddie G asked, how was prison? Did you get any action? So unfortunately, I didn't get any action. They give you each individual cells, and they give you this pamphlet. This is like the only thing that you get to take with you, is this sexual assault pamphlet explaining, their sexual assault rules, and what you can do if you feel sexually harassed and all these things. So no action. And that was it for the questions that I got on Instagram. And so that is the whole story. And I just want to bring it back to, we all have to start doing this. Like, really, thank you for the support. But if you really want to support not just me, but every single human being's freedom, is we all have to start standing up and not complying with this ridiculousness, especially when it's uncomfortable. Because a lot of people don't agree that we should be wearing masks, but they wear them either to, quote unquote, make others feel safe, or to not stand out, to not cause a scene just because they're fearful of what might happen, right? So we all have to start standing up to this. It can't just be these one-off things, or else it's never going to go away. We choose when this ends, right? So if I have to get arrested again, so fucking be it. I choose fucking freedom. Is it going to suck? Yeah, but freedom isn't free. Got to do what you got to do. And I will not sacrifice my values just for the sake of being comfortable and complying with this ridiculousness, giving them the power that they think they have, which, by the way, it's not power, it's force. They are forcing their will upon us. So that is it for today's podcast. I would like to mention that this podcast is brought to you by the Captain's Lifestyle Crew, which is my private online men's community for men who want to become better men. It's, like I said, a group of like-minded men. We meet every single Sunday. So I've got a call right after this, after I post this podcast, and we talk about things that are going well in our life, things that we've learned, things that we would like support on from the other crew members, things that we've learned, and we hold each other accountable for things that we say we're going to do, which is very important part of masculinity. And we also get to network with a bunch of high achieving, like-minded men. So it's a great place. Like I said, we meet every Sunday. We also host monthly masterminds, often with guest speakers. This month's mastermind will be happening on Sunday, the 27th, I believe, the last Sunday of this month. Yeah, 27th. And it will be with my good friend whose house I am in currently, Samuel Thomas Gordon Johnston. It's a mouthful, right? He is a nutrition and fitness expert, and he's going to be giving a mastermind on six-pack secrets. So there's going to be a ton of value in this mastermind. You also get access to a knowledge database that I update in various categories like mindset, sleep, nutrition, time management, stress reduction, you name it, all these high performance topics. And you also get discounts on in-person events that I'll be hosting. The next one will be in April. More details to come on that soon. So a ton of value in the Captain's Lifestyle Crew. You get hooked the fuck up. And the link for that will be in the show notes of this podcast to join. It is a monthly membership. And we would love to have you. We love supporting men with whatever they're going through. And it's a fantastic place to network and to grow. So that is it for today's podcast. Thank you guys for listening. If you have any questions, please reach out to me on Instagram at Captain_Taylor_Morgan. And remember, together, we will #make thriving standard. Live the Captain's lifestyle. Peace.